they had Florio on today. And I feel like we should have like a are you in or are you out on Florio, depending on the day.
Yeah, I've always been in, but I'm less in today than maybe I was, let's say, 10 years ago, and maybe, let's say, than even was 2 years ago.
I've never been in on Florio, and I used to like Florio. I get more annoyed as the time goes on.
I used to bang it here for the latest news and rumors, okay? I used to. I don't anymore, and I feel like... Here's the problem with Florio, okay? And I like Florio, I do. I genuinely do think he's good at this. Again, there's a reason why I went to him for so many years. When it comes to the Browns, though, he typically... I know we're going to play something that is different than that, but like his end-all, be-all answer... And I get it, he's got to do 32 teams. But his answer always goes back to Haslam's the problem. Until that changes, it's not really worth anything discussing. Yes. And the problem with that is that the owner's not going to change.
Yeah.
So, like, in his mind, he has basically erased any Browns conversation ever because he's diluted it down to you'll never win because of Jimmy Haslam.
And by the way, you can do that with 1/4 of NFL teams. There are 8 NFL owners, the Jets being certainly another one. Probably can make that case for Mark Davis right now.
Probably make that case for Cincinnati even though they did go to the Super Bowl.
But that's a team where it's like, well, you might go to the Super Bowl. You're not winning with Mike Brown. He's a total dodo. Up until like 2 years ago, Cal McNair was one of those owners. I just think like, all right, I'll give you, for instance, I think he made what I think is becoming a very lazy comparison for Shedeur when talking about why the Browns drafted Shedeur, his future in Cleveland, and what teams don't like. There's one thing he's right about here, and there's a lot he gets wrong.
He could be traded in the offseason. I think their ambivalence toward him has been fueled in part by the coverage that he brings. It's almost like a Tebow mania light. It's one of the reasons why Tim Tebow couldn't find a home in the NFL after Tebow mania took the league by storm. Teams don't want those extra voices and forces and factors unrelated to talent and ability influencing decisions as to who should play and who shouldn't play. And I think that's been, even though Shedeur Sanders didn't really create that deliberately, that's part of the thing that makes him potentially unattractive.
So before we get to the part that I think he gets right even when he gets it wrong, I'm over this Tim Tebow comparison. I watched Tim Tebow play for multiple years in the NFL. The guy couldn't throw a freaking football.
Yeah.
There was not like, oh, he moves really well. He was a tight end. And he honestly, his own ego got in the way of him being a successful NFL player because he had no business being an NFL quarterback. I've seen more from Shedeur in, four starts than I did in 2 years as Denver starter for Tim Tebow.
I don't remember a throw that Tebow had that comes close to, even in a bad game that he played against the Bears, any of the 2 that he threw to Isaiah Bond. I just don't remember any of that. Even the Jerry Jeudy throw, I don't remember any of those throws happening for Tim Tebow.
And I think that is my frustration when, he gets compared to Johnny Manziel, when he gets compared to Tim Tebow. I was like, guys, no one would have given a rat's butt about Tebow mania. As a matter of fact, it would have been an incredible marketing boom if he had actually been able to play. The whole point in why Johnny Manziel was such an absolute abject failure and dumbest thing they've done beyond trading for Deshaun Watson is because the guy couldn't play. But not just that, like you watched him, he looked lost on an NFL field. Say what you want about Shedeur, he doesn't look lost on an NFL field. So I understand that the hype and the mania might be similar to the thing that followed those guys into the NFL. But I think this idea that we're still comparing Shedeur to 2 guys who could not play football if their life depended on it in the NFL, that upsets me.
Well, I think Johnny was always a little interesting because Johnny could sling it in college, but Johnny had a very Dylan Gabriel thing to himself where he could throw the ball. Everyone knew that. He's a little oompa-loompa.
Yeah.
And it was just never going to translate to the NFL. You have to be at least 6 feet in order to play in the NFL. That's
and
like
his
a standard
favorite
rule.
thing about Cleveland was the snowstorms.
Well, and so that obviously, I think there's a part of Johnny that would know that. I think he knew that was coming. I think he knew it wasn't Russell Wilson. He wasn't Drew Brees. You can't be that short and expect to ball out. Kind of like my guy Diego Pavia. I've now adopted him as my guy.
Kwani Manziel.
Weird time to adopt him as that, but like he knew that Heisman thing that happened over the weekend where he went to the nightclub and said F Indiana and F all the voters and all that stuff. You're killing your NFL draft if it ever existed, okay? And it probably didn't exist, but he knows because he's basically 5'9", and that's being generous. He's never going to have an NFL career.
Well, but
he's not taken seriously.
Spot on. But that's what kills me about this is like Diego Pavia was incredibly disrespectful on a lot of different fronts. And the thing they got on Shedeur is he had a draft room. Did you see that?
Yeah, can you imagine?
He looked like a chotch because of his draft room.
In 2025, a guy tried to brand himself. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Color me shocked. Meanwhile, everyone that shows up to the Heisman and all these NFL draft ceremonies have suits tailored to the nines. They have everything custom. They're wearing expensive watches. They do all these things. This is what everyone does. But with Shedeur, it just became a problem for some reason.
And I continue to come back to one, I think it's a hot take today to say he could be traded in the offseason. Without knowing what's going to happen in the front office, without knowing what's going to happen with the head coach, to say that right now is what I think is textbook Mike Florio, which is coming up and saying something. So like 3 months later, you can be like, aha, I knew it. And then it's not going to happen. And then he'll still claim that he was on it first.
I don't think it's out of the question that it does happen.
No, I just think it's asinine today before Barry or Stefanski gets fired.
Okay, that's fair. Because, again, we have to figure out what the new head coach wants. But I would look at it in just a little bit of a different perspective. And I get the idea that Florio's saying nobody wants a fan base for a quarterback. That's not something they really want. How many times have we heard Aaron Albert talk about the backup quarterback needs to blend in like the furniture? I get all that. I understand all that. But Shedeur's on a rookie deal. Part of the problem the Browns are in right now is that you're paying too much money, not only dead cap to a bunch of offensive linemen that aren't going to be here next year, but you're paying Deshaun Watson $45 million every year for the next two as well. Like the advantage that you have in Shedeur, starter or backup, is he's costing you $900,000 a year. And I hate that that's the advantage, but that advantage supersedes anything that you would ever come up with a circus or anything like that, because he is the best quarterback that you are going to get for that price by far.
Also, what's the trade value on a fifth-round pick that started 7 games, and as good as he's played, or however you think he's played, he hasn't won enough games where maybe that would stoke people to be like, I'll give you a second or third round pick. So you're going to
give up your financial advantage for a third round pick?
Yeah.
You're going to give the financial advantage, the hope that you have moving forward when it comes to at least being able to put out what could turn out to be a competent quarterback? And obviously the ceiling's much higher than that, but like baseline, a competent quarterback, you're going to throw that away for a third or a fourth rounder? Like, it just seems silly to me.
Yeah, and here's the other, and this is where where he got it right in the clip that we played is teams do not like fan clubs. Right? They make the teams very nervous because when things aren't going well, that fan club attacks, as we've seen. When people felt like the Browns have wronged Shedeur, man, were Browns fans, or were Shedeur fan supporters? Were they all over the Browns social media? Were they all over everything, making us think about it? Now, here's what I would say. Because he then went on to say he doesn't like, where teams don't like it, when they have fan clubs influencing team decisions. Didn't you just tell wouldn't an organization, if they're like, Shedeur fans really want to see him play, I guess we have to. Haven't you already lost the freaking plot? I think he's assuming that that's happened with other teams. Okay, but like Tebow in Denver.
But in this version of the Browns, where have they ever been influenced? Like, again, maybe this would happen for the future coach. Okay, maybe it would. We don't even know who that guy is yet. But the one thing I've given Stefanski credit for, he's been very, very wrong in his assessment, but the one thing I've given him credit for is the idea that he has not buckled under any pressure of the Shedeur Sanders fan base at all. Like, he has remained staunch in his belief that Dillon Gabriel was better than Shedeur Sanders. And throughout this whole entire process, whether it's Andrew Berry, whether it's Kevin Stefanski, first off, they never buckled to the idea that they have to give him first team reps. That never happened. And then they never pushed him up the lineup in order to get him to start this season based off of fan pressure. Dillon Gabriel got concussed. Like, what are we talking about? He was third out of the gate. There was no fan pressure that they caved to.
Yeah, and I also if you're caving to, if your organization cannot handle a groundswell of support for one player and still make objective decisions, then you should fire each and every one of them anyways.
For sure. If you're going to be that much of a bobblehead to the fan base, then what are you doing here? We could run Facebook polls all day long and decide how to run the team if that was the case.
I bet you Facebook polls would have more success for the Browns right now.
Don't make me run that simulation. I think you're right. By the way, but that'd be an awful simulation to run. But you see how ridiculous this is? And so again, the whole idea, I get it. Teams don't want fan clubs, but you have to have something that offsets that and something that balances out the idea that you do have this massive fan base, and you have it. You are very valuable with your contract, and you also have upside that exists in a spot that no one else in this roster currently offers.
I've just watched people try and make a case for moving on from Shedeur, or that you have to make a decision quicker on Shedeur because of the supporters. And I think it's just a convenient way of working around the real conversation here. And listen, I do think there are elements of these supporters where there's an extreme element to that. And there are some folks who have lost their connection, their tether to reality within that community, the same way Shedeurs have. But by and large, I think a fair amount of people who are skeptical about Shedeur, and a fair amount of people who are supporters, I think a fair amount of people are actually closer in this conversation than we realize. I think it is the extremes, like a lot of things, that tend to push this conversation into the outhouse. But to suggest that somehow the Browns could be having second thoughts about Shedeur because of supporters, to me, is lazy. And if that's really how this organization thinks, then the one thing that Mike Florio ever says about the Browns, which is, yeah, they're just never going to work with Haslam there, will end up being proven right. Because, like, at this point, it's, are you evaluating Shedeur? You might be rosier, you might be more negative than Shedeur, or you might be more negative than I am, but whichever way you are, that's at the crux of this. The supporters have nothing to do with this.
Right.
And if an organization can't handle it, then everyone should be fired.
Right. But again, this is where I give them credit, is that they didn't buckle to any of the pressure that Shedeur fans or anyone put on them. They held through to their beliefs, and their beliefs were very wrong in my opinion, but they held through to them. And so to make the suggestion that this organization right now would buckle under that, I don't see it.
So we're just talking about the supporters and how much of a part of this should basically how they should factor into the Browns' decision on Shedeur. And the truth is, I mocked this 2 weeks ago. I still mock it now. If you have people out there in an organization, head coaches or GMs, afraid of people that really like Shedeur Sanders, you should not have your job. Like, I do not understand the NFL in general, with all their bluster and all their football guy isms, with the swagger and all that. Like, I still don't understand how I'll fall back on the take that Kevin Stefanski couldn't handle Baker Mayfield. Like, do you know how to work with people? Because if you only know how to work with people that go, yes, Mr. Kevin, I'll do whatever you want.
Then I present to you Fernando Mendoza.
Oh.
That's a yes, man. That's a bobblehead if we've ever seen it.
That is vanilla on vanilla.
Stefanski says jump. He says how high.
Like, if we could create a college for that kind of guy, it'd be Our Lady of Perpetual Virginity. It's not great.
Yeah, who's the patron saint of virgins?
That works here or that doesn't work here?
Okay. Whatever you want. Whatever you want.
Tim Tebow.
No, that's a good one, actually. Yeah. that's a really good one. If we wanted to make Tebow that, I don't think the church
he's been married for like 5 years. They have a kid. I'm pretty sure they haven't done anything.
No. I think he came out and was explicitly like, "We did it now, guys."
Yeah,
like it was a whole it was one of them for like one day. It was all on like USA Today. It was all these headlines.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Tebow finally got it done.
Yeah, and
he got the job done.
Until I see the video, until I watch the film.
You want a Tebow sex tape?
I don't want it.
Who's playing the part of Ray J? Who's playing the part of Kim Kardashian?
All right, this is more treacherous waters for us here because I can have an answer if you'd like me to give you the answer. I don't want one. I'm just saying I'll believe that Tim Tebow has lain with a woman when I actually see proof of it that isn't a child. You can fake that. There are banks for that. There are clinics for that.
Why would you fake that? Of all things to fake, isn't that like the worst thing to fake?
No, I mean, it's still his kid genetically.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but you don't need to seal the deal for that.
I mean, but why wouldn't he just
Fertility.
seal? Why wouldn't he just seal? But why wouldn't he just seal the deal?
Because he's Tim Tebow.
There's nothing blocking it through any part of his life at that point.
The Lord.
No. You're married. The Lord says it's all right. You're fine.
Maybe Tim wants to be extra careful.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You can never be too careful.
Oh.
Hell's real, Jonathan.
I don't think you're getting sent there for that. I don't think that's how that works.
He doesn't know
that is. That's all
He's
hell.
so pure.
The whole world's going to be occupied by hell.
Like, he sees his wife's shoulder and he just shudders. He's like, no, Lord.
Wouldn't that be something?
Not the temptation.
You get up to the pearly gates and God is just like, man, you guys really read this thing wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I really explicitly do not like that act.
Yeah. Did you guys not?
8 billion of you are now down below.
Did you guys not notice the part in the Bible that was all about begatting? What do you guys think that was?
You misinterpreted the whole thing.
He said, go forth and multiply.
And it turns into angry God. Not as fun as Angry Birds, but Angry God.
Not as angry as Tim Tebow after like 70 years of pent-up aggression there.
Has anybody got on you, by the way, for saying Abe Lincoln's the one that said never told a lie, or has that not happened yet?
Let's see here.
Did the chat recognize anything?
We got Talk Sports Guy. Let's see. He's a good person. What a dork. LOL.
Is that Tebow? Is Tebow a good person? What a dork?
I think it was somebody being frustrated with us, so we were making fun of Tim for being virgin-esque.
Oh, the people that don't like Tebow really don't like Tebow, though. It's fine. I thought it was interesting. A couple people around the station, when they've talked about Tebow, not on the air, off the air, the people that don't like him really don't like him.
And the people that like him really do like him.
Well, I mean, it's he does fall into that Shedeur category in the sense of that they didn't do anything to bring this on themselves. Now, you can maybe make the case that he's a little bit more preachy, but like he didn't do anything that would directly be like, I have to dislike Tim Tebow.
Yeah. Well,
same thing with Shedeur. Shedeur didn't do anything.
That's the only place in which the way people react to them is a fair comparison. But even then,
is the comp just as simple as they got massively famous for reasons that really nobody can explain, and that's why they fall in the same bucket? Because for me, it kind of stops right then and there.
Well, no, but for reasons people can't explain.
I guess you can't explain why Shedeur got massively famous.
Shedeur was a legitimate quarterback prospect in the NFL.
I mean, again, Tim Tebow was still taken in the first round. It's not like he wasn't a legitimate prospect.
Oh no, he had no business. He got drafted because of Florida success.
But again, even within that, he was one of the. He's a top 5 college player of all time.
How many option quarterbacks in college have ever been taken with a top 32
I'm not arguing that he deserved to be a first-round pick. I'm just telling you what he was. He was a first-round pick, and he was one of the most, again, legitimately, when they do those like top 5 college football players of all-time rankings, Tim Tebow's on those lists.
I think Shedeur is going to be an incredible litmus test and almost I honestly think it should be like the Rorschach test for the Browns when they're interviewing candidates. They should be like, all right, we're going to show you pictures, and then you're going to tell us what you see and how it makes you feel, and it's just pictures of Shedeur. Because if the answer is,
here's the other side of this. I don't know why. I don't get the impression the Browns are truly upset that this is how this has all gone down.
What do you mean?
Well, first off, this has given them life at the end of the season and interest in the end of the season in a season where they weren't supposed to have interest. So that's like a green check mark to begin with anyway. But like Jimmy Haslam loves attention. He loves the idea that people talk about this team. Like he's given them all that. Like this is gone. If you're Jimmy Haslam, I would have to imagine this has gone about as well as you could have possibly imagined.
With the whole 3 wins and everything?
Not that perspective. Obviously, he's mad about that. No, I mean the idea that you took a 5th-round quarterback and he's been able to keep people interested in the team this late in the season. We're usually knee-deep into not only drafting scenarios, everything like that, but we're way off actually talking about this team at this point when you have a 3-win season. We're still talking about them. The national media talked about a team that the moment Joe Flacco started week 1, they all would have checked out. So like, there's a part of me that thinks the Browns are getting exactly what they wanted out of this whole ordeal.